counting you've got? 3, 4, and then down the end one, 5. My name is June O'Sullivan. I'm the Chief Executive of the London Early Years Foundation, and we are the largest childcare organisation in the UK at the moment. The first stop of my journey is the Houses of Parliament, and we are going there because that's the first nursery ever in the Houses of Parliament. Not only is it the very first nursery ever run by a social enterprise, but now the Houses of Parliament themselves have got a social enterprise procurement initiative. So it's a really good story as far as I'm concerned. I think the reasons that it took them a while to get a nursery here is because Parliament is quite traditional and quite old fogey. I don't think that people recognised how it would make life for women parliamentarians easier. Oh, heavy. We have what we call the LEYF pedagogy, which was defined and designed by me to create opportunities for children from all backgrounds to have the best education. And at the core of that is what I call cultural capital. So what is the gap between a child from a poor family and a child from a more sort of supported professional family? It's language. So for us, everything about what we've done, all 7 elements, from the beginning leadership to the final one, multi-generational, is all about enriching the opportunity to expand language. And they like raspberry tea, so there's a bit left. The detritus of it all is just left here. And the cucumber we had in the role play area has been eaten, and that's what's left here. And so somebody will come nicely and clean all of this up in a minute. And people often worry about, oh, you've got real china and they're only 3. But you know what? Children can learn to manage all of these things, and they do. And occasionally, if it falls and it breaks, it's not the end of the world. It's a learning experience for them. So for me, that's all very important. Bye. Bye. We're off to see the wizard now. So we're on our way to Carlton Hill Nursery, which was one of the first contract nursery I took when I became a CEO back in 2004. And there was a nursery that the local authority wanted to close down, and the parents went on a march, and it was the first time I got involved in that kind of level of campaign. So I promised them I'd take it on if we got a good deal, but also if they would back us, so that when the chips were down, they actually remembered that we didn't have to do this, but we decided we would do this. That was 10 years ago. I set up the London Network of Men in Childcare because, for 2 reasons really. One is, good businesses are gender balanced, and the second thing is it's good for women to have men around, and it's good for men to have women around, and also for children it's very important for them to see men in a caring role. So at LEYF we've always had more than 2% men, but there's certainly more of an interest. I mean, everything takes a very long time, and especially if you're disrupting things, because that's what I want my epitaph to be: disruptive influencer. This is the garden, look, and there are the children's Wellington boots. So a bit like what you saw in the other nursery, nothing stops us going out, no matter what. And they do a lot of growing here, so that they have vegetable planters, and then they serve it, and the chef downstairs will cook it with them, and then they have it for tea. So this is Althea, one of our famous chefs, and she's going to serve lunch for nearly 70 children, and everything is homemade. She's one of my few female chefs. Most of my chefs are male.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am renowned for being quite outspoken. I'm not into ranting or just getting on your high horse. I actually usually have fairly well-researched kind of rationale as to what we're saying. But I am often disappointed by the establishment's inclination to bring around itself advisors who almost say what they want to say. And to me, that's not the point of advice. When I have a problem, I go to someone who's going to give me a fair, objective, and not necessarily agreed response. That's surely the point of a good business. Our job is to be advocates for children, to advise objectively, and to be prepared to say the unsayable, actually, even if it means quite often that you won't be invited back or that you get a reputation as being a bit disruptive. But advice that just repeats what you want to hear or confirms your own hypothesis is not advice at all. So along here we know this neighbourhood very well, and we have a lot of poor immigrant children attending nurseries around here, actually. Quite different to the end of the road, Maida Vale, where we've just been. That's why the social enterprise model works. You have gentrification and poverty side by side. So you can have a fee structure that enables you, which is our model, that enables you to charge slightly more so that you can subsidise those who slightly less. How do you find yourself doing anything? It's a really interesting question, because when I was a little girl, I used to look at people in my school who said, when I grow up I want to be a teacher, or when I grow up I want to be a librarian or whatever. And I used to think, oh, I'd love to know what I want to do when I grow up. I was a very young mum and I was on my own, and working in the NHS wasn't particularly conducive to that, and so I trained to be a social worker, and in doing that became very interested in what we called early intervention. Like, if you didn't really work with small children, you really miss the trick. So by the time you were working with people with mental health issues, like I was doing quite a lot of, you suddenly realised that actually most of their difficulties started when they were little. The nursery we're going to go to is BRIXON nursery. It's a special nursery for me because it's the first one I set up within a social enterprise itself.
Hello.
Hey, it's Oscar, a man in childcare. Oscar's in charge of the babies, and he's also the deputy manager, and he's superb. So when people think that men can't work with babies, Oscar's your man. 3 things I want you to remember about LEYF, the London Early Years Foundation, is 1, we were pioneering. 2, we were brave and we always stood up for children. And 3, we have a lot of fun.